Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to talk about all the books I read in August and just kind of wrap that up because honestly August was a really good reading month for myself. It was surprising honestly how many books I read. I have my iced coffee and let's talk about books. In the month of August I read 7 books and okay, so starting with the first book I finished in August, it is The Honorable Imposter by Gilbert Morris. This man is a pastor. I don't know what denomination of faith he is. He has written so many fiction books. I just started the House of Winslow series and I don't know if I want to continue on with it because honestly this book was an absolute disaster. I hated the writing. The writing was awful. Like every time a man came onto the scene, he was described as husky. His voice was described as husky. If ever he said something, he said it huskily. Like the amount of times the word husky or huskily was in this book, higher count than any other word that showed up in this book because honestly, wow. Like, I will never think of the word husky the same again. I don't know what it is, but Gilbert Morris apparently thinks it's very attractive and very romantic for a man to physically hold a woman back and like struggle with her. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of times that the love interest, the girl in here, she's like walking in the dark trying to find food or something on the ship, and like he reaches out and he like pulls her in and he's like forcing his kiss on her. He's like forcibly kissing her and eventually she's like, oh my goodness, I have to give in to him. Oh my goodness, like he's so romantic and all this stuff. But she's like, she hates it and she's trying to pull away but she can't because he's so much stronger than her. And apparently we're supposed to find that as romantic and we're supposed to use his strength over her as a sign that like they have an attraction between them. But it's just scary and it's messed up. Like if any man forcibly kissed me and then kept kissing me and like held me to him when I was struggling to get away, I would never like melt into his arms. I just don't think that's realistic. I think any woman would panic if she was in that situation. Like that's really messed up. I'm sorry Gilbert Morris, but that's not attractive. That's bad. Brighten up. Anyways, the writing too was just really juvenile. I was enjoying it for the first 2 chapters and then I just hated it. The next book that I read was An Exorcist More Stories by Gabriel Amorth. This man is an exorcist priest and he just kind of brings to light all that he's learned in his schooling and experiences as learning to be an exorcist, which actually takes many years and it's pretty important. So I thought this was very enlightening and I tabbed it a lot because I really enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars. Really well done too. He really like puts his thoughts forward in a really clear way. Put across everything that he was trying to put across very well. Okay, the next book that I read is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. This is a classic. This is very popular and it was my book pick for our book club. I have a lot to tab because it was really well written. The creativity, the absolute brains that went into pulling everything together and forming this plot was pretty amazing. The characterization was great. The use of prose to form character, to form setting with the character, to form the plot, the different plots with each character are just phenomenal. And if you don't know anything about this book, we follow 6 different perspectives and it climbs up through time and then it climbs back down through time. It just wraps up all together, like all these lives are connected. It does deal with reincarnation though. Like the whole idea is the fact that you just keep getting reincarnated as another person. And there is a point in here where it was trying to make a point for reincarnation where someone's thinking of murdering someone. He's thinking, because this person is sleeping, he's thinking of killing this person. But the thought comes into his head that like, oh, maybe I shouldn't kill this person because this person could be like my brother reincarnated. And I see like the thought process is like good, like you're trying to sympathize with the person and trying to see the humanity behind this person that you just want to kill. but I think it's faulty because you're failing to see that person as himself. Like, that is his own person, his whole person. To try to think, I'm not gonna kill him because he might be my brother reincarnated, is just, you're just missing out on who that actual person could possibly be. Not only that, it's so long, really hard to get through. Like, the whole time I just wanted it to be over. I gave it 4 stars because it was amazingly done. My favorite person that we follow is the ghastly ordeal of Timothy Cavendish, and if I could just have a whole book dedicated to Timothy Cavendish, I would read that, because honestly I think David Mitchell is really good at writing old people and old people comedy. Like, I think he's amazing at that. So the next book that I picked up was the book that I picked with my friend so she could annotate it and then I could read her annotations along with it, and that is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. And she actually illustrated this all. My video where I actually come back to book 2, you can see all the illustrations. What I thought about this book, I think I was like, I'm traumatized by something that happened in this book. It was just torturous. It was literal torture. But we got to see every part of it and it was so sad. I just have to say, if you really love cats, don't read it. Do not put yourself on the line for this book. I know a lot of people say that Murakami, he puts in mysteries, introduces such incredible things that, like, I want to know about, but this book gives no closure. I don't think Murakami ever gives closure, and I don't think his writing is good at all, like phenomenal at all, but I really do think that might just be in part because it is translated from Japanese. The way he wraps this one up is in no way whatsoever. Nothing is wrapped up, and I know people say that's the beauty of Murakami, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever pick up a Murakami ever again because I really don't like having things not wrapped up. Am I supposed to like come up with the mystery myself? His writing and his books are definitely something that open up discussions with people. And also I gave it an extra star because his creativity is just phenomenal. But overall this book was kind of boring. It was like so dry. So I gave this a 2 stars. The next one, my husband's book pick, I annotated it for him and now he's reading it right now, but that's Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is like a super popular sci-fi. All I have to say about this was I was really confused going into it. I felt so stupid. It really takes a lot of brain power. Like, I had to have white noise in my headphones for full concentration to be able to read this book and understand what was going on. He introduces things like scientific technology and certain terms without explaining what they mean, without explaining their background, but he does eventually show you what it's kind of being used for. He describes it in a way that like expects you to be able to know what it's all about, and it kind of, for me, it put me in the world a lot better. It put me in the future. It made me feel like I was reading a book written in the future, because it's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to know what this is because you're in the future with me. It was really well done. I give it 4 stars. The next one, I already ranted about it in my video that I uploaded where I was reintroducing myself back to book 2. But that is The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. This was my book pick for annotation and my husband annotated it. I heard nothing but great, phenomenal things about The 5th Season and I don't know why. I'm gonna say it right now. The world building just made me melt. I was just in love with the world. So creative. I want to continue on with the series solely for the world. Like, the world building is the only thing carrying this entire series. There's no character. In the last part of the book, it just got really boring. I just didn't want to read it. I just think she could have ended the book like here, and it would have been great. It would have been so much better. And then she did something, she made our main character do something that just absolutely infuriated me and didn't make any sense to me. So I was just so disappointed in this one. I was looking forward to it. 2.5 stars. The next book I picked up was The Embroidered Book by Kate Hartfield. And this one just came out, I think, this year. So this one's pretty big. It's a big book. The pages are thick though, and the text is a lot bigger than all the other books I've been reading. With the chapter openings, they had like little things explaining what the chapter's about. Eventually it came to a point where I just skipped over reading all of those because I don't know why we needed to announce like certain things that were happening in that chapter. Like she was trying to get us to read the next chapter by announcing like little things that we would find in that chapter, when really I would just find that out by reading the chapter, and I just did. So I just skipped reading those things at the start of the chapter because they really had no point. So this book follows Marie Antoinette and her sister Charlotte. It follows them from when they were children, and they split ways and have to go marry off princes and kings of different countries. Like Marie Antoinette, well, we know she married Louis the Dauphin for France, and Charlotte, she married Frederick in Naples. They're trying to like better the country, and the twist in this book is that they are actually magicians, and so they use magic to try to better their country. And really the only person I was interested in reading about was Marie Antoinette. I really didn't like Charlotte's chapters. I really didn't like Charlotte. I found no point in us following her. I just didn't understand what her whole character arc was. She didn't really have anything going for her. I didn't care about her because I didn't know what we were striving for. She was also very annoying because she just had everything under control, and then she just, in her anger, like kind of tore everything apart as well. I didn't like reading about Charlotte, so that made this book literally twice as long as it would have been. It was very political. The girls trying to work through politics to better their country and to better people's opinions of them. I gave it 3 stars because it was alright. Anyways, also for the month of September. Yes, we're in September right now. I'm so excited. I'm going to include also a little bit of my reading plan for this month. I do want to read a lot of mysteries and some thrillers. I'm planning on reading, I started already, The Murder of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray. Oh my goodness, you guys, this one is phenomenal. I like read a little bit of it and I'm just sucked in. I'm loving it so much. I'm just like giddy over it because honestly I'm just so happy to be reading this one and so excited to finish it. But again, I don't even want it to end. My next reading plans, I'm actually going to start today. It's part of a reading blog. I'm gonna be reading The Lies of Locke Lamora. I think it's a trilogy. It's a fantasy, and I'll read the synopsis for you. Okay, slightly built and barely competent with a sword, Locke Lamora is, much to his annoyance, the fabled thorn. And while Locke does indeed steal from the rich, who else would be worth from stealing from? The poor never see a penny. All of Locke's gains are strictly for himself and his tight-knit band of thieves, the gentleman bastards. We follow a capricious, colorful underworld of the ancient city of Camor. It's the one home they've ever known. But now a clandestine war is threatening to tear it apart. Caught up in a murderous game, Locke and his friends are suddenly struggling just to stay alive. I'm so excited to pick it up. Yeah, I plan on reading a lot of this series. So I do have a lot of reading plans. Probably won't be able to finish all of the books that I plan on reading this month, not gonna lie. But then again, we can try. Maybe we can do a 24-hour readathon. We'll see. Anyways, thank you for joining me as I rant about everything I thought about like these books. Some of them were great, some of them were not so great. Overall, it was a good reading month, and I hope you had a good reading month in August as well. And here's to September. Let's hope that the books in September are gonna be so good. So far they are. But I'm so excited to see you soon to talk more about books. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.